Well, let's start with 21. It's a lower number, so.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here. My name is Kelly Fowler, and I'm running in the 21st District. And wow, it's been a crazy first couple of months. But we have the primary next week, and we're almost to the home stretch, so we're almost there. I feel strongly that I am the person to represent you in Richmond. I am a homegrown candidate, having lived in District 21 my whole life, and my husband and I are raising our family there. Some of you may not know me, but I believe you are your most genuine self when no one is looking. If you look into my past, you will see that I have been passionately fighting for fairness and equality and for families for a long time. As a teacher, I was the one taking on the extra work, staying late, and giving extra help to the students who needed it. In real estate, I'm known for helping military families, not only selling them houses, but also being the one that they can count on when they move to a new place and they don't know anybody. I have helped birth a baby, gone into countless crawl spaces, and braved Hurricane Matthew to reach a family as the flood waters rose as the children slept. I am also passionate about actively encouraging inclusiveness in our community. When my daughter came home last year with a flyer for the father-daughter dance, I knew it was not inclusive of all types of families. I am proud to say that I was the driving force behind getting it renamed, so now every January we attend the parent-daughter dance as a family. I advocate for people daily, above and beyond my job, because it is the right thing to do. My policy priorities center around family issues, public education, healthcare for all, and everyone to be able to earn a living. Above all, the basic idea of fairness and equality. As a former teacher in Virginia Beach, education is one of my top priorities. I am the fighter who can advocate for our children and teachers. Every child has an equal right to a quality education, and we need to support teachers and fully fund education. As a woman and a mother, I know the importance of every person having health care, and I will fight so being a woman is never a pre-existing condition. And as a small business owner, I understand the struggles of earning a living for your family, not only livable wages, but the ability to grow and sustain your business. My district is one of 17 that is represented by a Republican in the House of Delegates, yet voted decidedly for Hillary Clinton. We can take back these seats and give the voters the Democratic leadership that they want. I will go to Richmond and fight for our families, but only with your support. So thank you for being here, and I hope to earn your vote June 13th. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Brock. Nice to see you all here. It's always lovely to be here in this growing committee that it's been a pleasure of mine to be a member of for almost 2 years now. I remember being here when there were maybe 20, sometimes 18 people at these meetings, and it is truly refreshing to see all of these faces here in this movement to move us forward to help Virginia go truly blue. We have an opportunity this year to move on issues that we've wanted to move on for the last decade, but been unable to or afraid to. With the election of this new president, it has brought out the best in us. It has absolutely brought out the best in us. I'm here to talk to you today about the issues facing our community. Issues about education and keeping public money in public schools. Issues regarding equality for just diversity across the board, for communities of color, for LGBTQ+, for women, for everyone to be treated equally and defined under the law as equal. And most importantly, to protect our way of life here in southeastern Hampton Roads from the dangers of climate change and specifically sea level rise. As one of the communities with the largest military installation on planet Earth, we are in danger of losing that to sea level rise. by 2050. If we do not do something about it very, very quickly, we will be in even deeper water. So, my name is Tom Brock. I am running in the 21st District, and I encourage you to vote for me on June the 13th, because I am the strongest candidate, and I will fight for you. Thank you.
Okie doke. How we're going to do this, Tom gets first question going down. I'm going to ask you guys, now that you've had untimed first statements, do 1 minute so that we can get through a bunch. I've got 15 questions in my hand. It looks like 16, but we'll see if we get there. Now, purposely, I shoved in the middle, somewhere between like number 5 and number 8, the question that I think most people actually came to listen to. So if you guys want the fun part, you've got to be quick. So number 1, in 1 minute, and you only get to answer one. What is your most important state legislative issue?
Well, my most important state legislative issue is, it has to be, just coming out of the box, expanding Medicaid. Expanding Medicaid is, it's low-hanging fruit, because it's something that is right there, ready to happen, and something that every single one of us sitting here can get our teeth into right out of the box. Some of my more long-term agendas would be in addressing studies towards studying disparity in public schools, figuring out how we can solve the issues there. Okay, well.
I agree. Expanding Medicaid, if no one's around and we can't make people healthy and live longer, then they're not here for anything else. I know someone who their children qualify, but they struggle to qualify. So with 2 small children and not being able to qualify because being in the gap, that stress of not being able to get health care when you're sick, your children are taken care of, but when you're sick, that is a big stressor and worry and fear for a lot of parents that don't know if they're going to be around for their children or they're going to be able to take care of their children. So I agree with everyone else.
And we got that whole question done in 4 minutes, so you guys kept to it. Thank you very much. Nancy's the lead off for this question. Unfortunately, everyone will not graduate from high school and go to college. There is a great number of skilled labor positions throughout the Commonwealth. How would you pitch these skilled positions for less than college graduates to businesses and students alike?
I think to expand on what you were saying would be it's not just for everyone, especially for women and for girls, to influence and promote women to go into every field would also be something that would be a priority that I would want to incorporate. I think with business and with students coming out of school, being able to have a variety of experiences to know what you are good at and what you could go forward in is important. So I think education that would give exposure to different areas would be extremely important to incorporate. So when I look at policy, I don't just look at what would you do in healthcare. When it comes to families, everything relates. Your family, your educational experience goes back to your health, goes back to the economics, goes back to the family life. So I feel strongly that when we look at policy, we need to look at the whole picture and make common sense choices overall and not just for one area. So.
This to me seems really simple. It's about educational opportunities, and it's about how do we approach those educational opportunities to give these folks the training that they need. One of the things that I would certainly like to look into would be, how do we get public training beyond the 12th grade? How do we do that, and how do we make 2-year education, advanced education after high school, how do we make that available to literally everyone who wants it? We would open up traditional higher ed to traditional students. We would open higher ed in, technical fields and in, plumbers, carpenters, everything else like that. by doing a VOTEC program, again, in a higher ed capacity. And I think that, New York is really leading the way with this right now. What? Oh, okay, yeah, so education.
Open-ended, so please be careful to zero in on a specific action. How do you engage and support diversity?
Right here in Virginia Beach, we worked on the disparity study, and that was something that was close to my heart, that was important back January and February, and we made progress. The city didn't want to do the disparity study. They set goals, measurable goals for women and minorities and getting contracts, and it wasn't examined, and I think that's important, to set the goals, but then to go back and to examine them and see where we are at and see what we need to do moving forward. Are we meeting the goals? So awareness, I think, is a really big part of that, and along with the goals and a plan, an overall plan. So we need to be aware of what's happening.
Engaging diversity. Well, I have two very strong, long-held opinions. One that I tried to touch on just a minute ago, in that I think we need to really address disparity in public schools. I think that we need to look to have a full statewide audit of our public schools to see where this disparity is happening, to see why it's happening, and to mediate it directly, to do something about it so that we can all start having the conversations in a clean, open-air environment where, we do have the opportunity to talk about these things. Another thing I think is in the business community, in doing a statewide audit of cities over 100,000 people, of developmental licensing programs, which is exactly what the disparity study march in Virginia Beach was about. So that is those are the things that I would do legislatively right off the bat if I were to become the delegate.
Okay, starting with Kelly. After the primary, if you're not successful on June the 13th, how will you support the winner?
Well, I said back in February, I think, to Tom that I would support him if I didn't win, and I really hope that we can get Villanueva out of office because he votes party line every time. So moving forward, we need somebody in office that's going to expand Medicaid, not vote party line, work for all people, work towards inclusiveness. So moving forward, we know that will happen because we're going to show up next week on June 13th and get us in.
Well, I've said from the very first day I walked into this room that my goals are to build this party. My goal is to make this party as strong as it can possibly be here, and I will support every single Democrat running in this Commonwealth if I have to. So I don't want there to be anything unclear. Whoever the nominee is in any of these contests, if they are a Democrat, I am behind them. For our constitutional officers, I am very much behind them. I will support Democrats strongly, full force, and I will fight for them right until the very end.
All right, great segue to the couple of questions that are next. So, Madam Timekeeper, 2 minutes, please, because this one might take a little bit. And so, Tom, these questions are actually directed at you, but I'm going to ask each of the candidates to respond to how you feel, Tom, from an African-American woman, can I trust you to represent me in the General Assembly? What is your motivation on your Facebook comments? And a second part to the question, because the House caucus has said they will not support you, how can that be a smart move? How can you achieve what you want to achieve with a stronger Democratic Party by staying in the race?
I'm going to go back to something that Justin Fairfax just said. And it is something that has driven me since I even started considering running for this seat. And that is that I owe a spiritual debt to my city and to the people who are standing up here after this terrible election to my parents who are here tonight, and my entire goal here is to support a strong set of democratic values, which I have outlined clearly on my webpage. I would ask you all to go take a look at it, to see what I'm about, to see what my positions are, where I stand, and to really get a sense of where I'm coming from. You know, when people start digging around into your past, there's all kinds of things that can come out. There are plenty of things that can come out that when you first see them, boy, are they embarrassing. But I can tell you in all sincerity, there is all the things that have come out about me that anyone has seen so far, most of it comes from a place of exactly the opposite of how it's being perceived. You know, I have been charged with several different things that, you know, are 100% diametrically opposed to my position on every issue that I stand for. If you think that I do not stand to help destroy racial disparity, then you're not paying attention to what I'm talking about. I've been saying it since I walked into this race, and I will continue to say it. If you think that I don't stand on women's issues, then you're not paying attention to the other 20,000 Facebook posts that I've made. So I ask you to please take a minute, go back, do some homework, look at what I have actually said and what I've actually done in building a political action committee to get people running in all of these races, and helping other candidates all across this city get ready to do what they're doing, helping to get delegates elected to the national convention. These are the things that I'm doing. So, and I only got through half the question.
Well, I think the main thing I can comment on is what my race is focused on. When I got into this race, I made the decision to run. I contacted the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee, and it was February 2nd. I remember I sent a Facebook message to the page, and just to kind of say, I'm interested in running for delegate, and I think I would be a good choice. And I went on and on and on about what I was going to do, and I did not realizing that was not what I didn't need to prove myself yet. You know, it was time to just kind of let them know what the next step would be. So ever since that day, I've been focused on my campaign and being focused on promoting women and minorities and families above all, and all those issues that go with it. So healthcare and education, everything that's linked, and everything that's common sense. So that's the main thing I can comment on this topic.
Thank you very much. We'll do one more, and then we will have a...
Sorry, the library said that we need to wrap it up.
Okay, I told you I would go until they started doing hate mail. Most of the questions are that were left in the back of the stack are pretty standard Democratic positions, and one of you mentioned, hey, I won't vote the party line, but no, don't vote the Republican Party line. There's an awful lot that's pretty good in the Democratic Party line, fighting for 15, etc. Let me ask you each, and we will start at this end and work this way, a real quick 45 seconds.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of the people who have stood behind me up until now, because there's something very important that they know and that I know, and that I hope the rest of you are starting to understand, and that is I am a fighter. I do not give up. I will not give up. I see that there's a job that needs to be done, and I am standing up to do it against all adversity, and I am a leader. When leaders make mistakes, they have to be held accountable and take responsibility. I have been held accountable, and I have taken responsibility, and I have faced adversity head on. I am a fighter. Please vote for me on June the 13th.
Well, I think no matter who you vote for, we're all fighters. definitely in the resistance. So I will say I'm a fighter and an advocate, and I think that advocacy is really important. I feel like just if you don't understand someone's position, that I feel it's important to try and say, I don't understand their position, but I still have to fight for them. Inclusiveness is really important. So being an inclusivist, always looking at whatever issue there is something that I'm gonna do. Looking at the issue and how it is inclusive to all people. I have tolerance, and the only thing I will not tolerate is intolerance. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause for all the candidates, please. Thank you guys very much.